We got to keep counting down the cuts and decisions that the Seahawks need to make to finalize this roster. Plus, let's just continue our trend of always talking about the running backs every episode. What's going on, everybody? Christian Pedersen back with another episode of Seahawks Digest, the show where we're bringing you daily content. They got a little negative earlier this week with all the injuries, so let's try and be positive Pete on this episode. If you want to subscribe, like, share, comment, follow all those other YouTube buttons, always great. If not, no worries. Be here any day, every way to keep talking about the Seahawks. Let's talk about the roster moves that have been made most recently for them. A couple of different call-ups. Derek Graham is a tackle. He's being added. Tyshim Johnson is a safety, and Justin Jones is a running back. Those are the three most recent names in the dizzying amount of changes and decisions and transactions, line items that have been made. I get that Justin Jones is being brought in to be a camp running back and just take some snaps from or against the Chiefs. Still, though, interesting to me to see a position that we don't necessarily need injury immediate help with versus having to actually find people at the tight or at the tackle and defensive back spots. So curious to see that was the move there, but nonetheless, still positive changes happening. Also today, it's finally happening. The Koshlas are in the room, so I'm assuming by the end of me even recording this, potentially, or definitely by the end of today, we will have finally finalized the final on this, and no more stories about ownership reaching any sort of new stage of approval or anything like that. Just mark it, put it on the Wikipedia. Today's the day that the new era of Seahawks football officially begins. Let me know what you think about our new owners. I, so far, have no reason to dislike them in any way, shape, and form. The next story I got for you, I said we were going to talk about running backs, and adding a new one just to take some preseason snaps was not the only story there. I want to talk more about Jadarian Price and the situation surrounding him, ranging from the high praise to the potential for injury concerns. The high praise being that NFL.com's draft analyst Lance Zierlein has said that he is projecting a near 1,000-yard season for Price on the ground, a couple hundred yards receiving, 11 touchdowns. How you come up with 986 yards projected, I don't know. That feels way too specific for me to try and understand the math that goes into that. It is coming off, though, at the start of the summer, we had Sean Alexander, who I was like, okay, he's probably just flaming him because he is a Seahawk and he wants to see other Seahawks do well. But Sean Alexander was saying that he thinks Jadarian Price is going to be the only rookie in this draft class that rushes for 1,000 yards. This would be in on that mark. And the quotes are largely positive. Sam Darnold coming out saying he's a really good player and very special. And it seems like there's been also, though, some concern given he has had, let's call it light injury issues. Not that he was necessarily particularly directly banged up, but he missed a couple of days with some lower back contusions or whatever it's going to end up being. And so I just, we have not had a full-on week 1 was the George Halani game. Week 2 was the Jadarian Price game. Week 3 was the Emmanuel Wilson game, or some sort of variation of that. Okay, let's pick from the bevy of these three guys as to what is going to be the running back situation this year. And yet, when you look at the articles projecting out who is going to be the running backs this year, it is these three to start. None of the other camp names, little additions or sprinklings in here and there are being talked about. So it is going to be these three guys, but I'm curious what order you put these three in, given the sample size that we have gotten over the preseason. And I can probably assume that it will still be some variety of the, running back by committee, if you want to say, where it's George Halani takes the blocking downs, the power runs up the middle, the need for just hold on to the ball, run up the middle, salt away the clock kind of drives. that Jadarian Price seems to be linked to. He's going to learn to catch the ball a whole lot more and be the stretch guy, and that Emmanuel Wilson's the everything else. He's just a serviceable dude, kind of fill in the gaps back. But I also haven't seen that in action in any quantifiable way in any of these preseason games, in a way to be like, okay, we have the formula out there. We just got to expand upon it kind of vibes, the way that I think we have seen with some of, we're about to talk about Elijah Arroyo, some of the tight ends and other pieces have come together a little bit more cohesively, publicly, whatever you want to call it. So right now, if I had to pick, I guess I'd go with George Holani as RB1, Price as RB2, Emmanuel Wilson as RB3. But I'm unsure if Holani really has the full on. Like, I don't think that any one of those guys has the skill set. But again, as I say, like, I haven't seen it. We haven't seen it with Darnold. We haven't, other than the joint practice with the Texans or with the Titans, there haven't really been a ton of extended runs with the ones against another team. So maybe this is something where we just really, until Sharps comes back around week 5, aren't going to see any consistent, cohesive theory of like what really is our running back room. And it's got to wait until Sharps comes back. And then by like week 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that, we have it a little bit more dialed in. But I kind of also think that makes it even more confusing to then have 4. And do you cut Emmanuel Wilson just arbitrarily because he's the last guy in? Do you cut whoever is the lowest of the 3 producers? What if the lowest of the 3 producers is Jadarian Price? It feels unresolved right now, and I don't think that it's a red flag, but let's call it a yellow flag, that we don't have a super, super solid understanding right now as to what exactly the game plan is going to be with the running backs. Next one I want to talk about, like I said, Elijah Arroyo. This one, though, is an interesting one on the flip side of actually knowing what we're going to get. And we had talked during the offseason about Brian Fleury being a tight end whisperer and being somebody who's going to really activate this part of the Seattle offense, and that a lot of Seattle's depth is going to be that graphic right there does not translate particularly as well as I had thought it would with our graphic users, but translate to the success of these gentlemen. A.J. Barner, obviously an established piece, but Arroyo so far seems like the biggest potential benefit and upswing of this guys, with Saubert and Vanett both being blocking and tertiary pieces, but pieces that I think, especially with the injuries that have happened to the wide receivers, are going to get kept on this roster. So it would not surprise me one bit if the final look at this is a group of 4 tight ends. What I was saying, though, about actually seeing it is that, like, on these opening drives, when it is as close to being like game speed of a look as we can get in any of these, we do see the tight ends heavily featured. We see the tight ends featured for both, like, they're on the field blocking and they're out there catching big plays designed for them, and quarterbacks and everybody executing it, et cetera. So, like, the opposite of my questions about the running backs, I have no more questions about the tight ends. I want to see these 4 guys get out there and get after it this season and be, if not necessarily like the featured pieces where it's like, okay, we're just making these 4 tight ends demigods, like, at least want to see these guys be the featured pieces in the sense of like keeping everybody else honest and helping open up the run game with their blocking, and helping open the pass game with their ability to just require somebody to guard them. All right, that's what I got for you on this episode. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all those other YouTube buttons. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.